Today we are going to look at how to multiply using decimals. When you are multiplying with decimals, you actually want to treat the numbers as if the decimal was not there, and just using the integers, you would multiply as if they were just whole numbers. The one thing that you do need to make sure you do is that you are able to put the decimal in the product in the correct way. So I first want to start talking about what that looks like. So if you notice on the screen here, we have this problem, 2 17/100 times 4/10. And if you'll notice, we've first rewritten the problem to be vertical, and next to that, it has a blank and decimal place for each of those lines. What that's asking for is how many decimal places are there for that number. So if we look at this first number, at 2 17/100, and if you count the numbers to the right or behind the decimal, there's a 1 and a 7. So here we would say that there are 2 decimal places. And for the 4/10, there's 1 decimal behind that decimal point, and that would be 1. And to put that in our product in the correct place, we would add those two numbers together. 2 and 1 is 3. So in this answer that we're going to have at the end, we need to make sure that there are 3 numbers behind the decimal point, or 3 decimal places in our answer. So let's go ahead and continue with this problem. And now that we have our decimal places, we're going to actually just multiply this as if there were no decimal points at all. You could actually ignore that 0 also. So really what we're going to be multiplying is 217 times 4. So let's go ahead and do that. 4 and 7 is 28. So I'm going to carry my 2, drop my 8. 4 and 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and 4 times 2 is also 8. So I end up with 868. Now that's not our answer. That is our answer as far as the integers, the numbers go, but it's not complete because we still have that 3 over here. So if you remember, that's how many decimal points I need in this answer. So I'm going to start at the back of my answer, and I'm just going to loop 1, 2, 3 places. That's where my decimal goes. So the final answer for this is 0.868. 868 thousandths is my final answer. So let's try a couple of these without having that model sitting right in front of us. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start by rewriting this problem vertically. So 6.1 and 3.7. Now you do not have to worry about lining up your decimal points at all. It just kind of happens in this example, but that is not something that you need to be concerned with as it is when you're adding and subtracting decimals. So I'm going to come over to the side, and before I even begin, I'm going to put how many decimal places I have. In this first number, 6 and 1/10, there's 1 number behind the decimal point. And in 3 and 7/10, again, there's 1 number. And we would add these 2 numbers together, so I should end up with 2 numbers in my decimal point in my product. Now we can multiply as if there are no decimals, just using our whole numbers. 7 and 1 is 7, 7 and 6 is 42. Add that 0, 3 and 1 is 3, 3 and 6 is 18. We add this together now. We get 7, 5, 12. Carry that 1 and 2. Now remember, that's not our final answer. We need to put our decimal in the answer. I'm going to start at the back. I'm going to move over 2 places this time, so it goes right in between the 2 and the 5, and our final answer here is 22 and 57/100. And same problem, let's try one more. So we've got 9 and 51/100 times 7/10. Now, like I said before, you do not have to line up your decimals, and this is a good example where your decimals are not lined up. I believe that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I saw, is that students would like to line up your decimals, which is wonderful if you're adding and subtracting. And technically you would not get a wrong answer by doing that, but you are causing yourself a lot more work and a lot more numbers in your problem. And when that tends to happen, it's much easier to make a mistake. So let's try to keep it as simple as you can, where you're not lining up your decimals, you're lining up your numbers at the end of your problem. All right, let's count how many decimal places we have in each of our numbers so far. In the first one, the 9 and 51 hundredths, there's 2 numbers behind your decimal point, so we have 2 in this number. And in the 7 tenths, we have 1 number, making a grand total. I need to have 3 when it's all said and done. Let's go ahead and multiply now. This 0 is not going to do anything, so I'm going to ignore it, and I'm just going to multiply 951 times 7. 7 and 1 is 7. 7 and 5 is 35. Bring up that 3. 7 and 9 is 63, plus 3 more gives me 66. Not done. We've got to move that decimal point over 1, 2, 3 spots, and we end up with 6 and 657 thousandths as our final answer.